I'm going to turn it over to Vic. For those, do you remember seeing Vic? What October was? I think you did. Vic is an honorary member of the club. He's with DroneU, and he has a photography business. He is the most plugged-in person I can think of into drones, and so
the regulation side.
He's going to give us this remote ID. Is everybody familiar with remote ID and what's going on? Okay, this is a big
I'm glad I'm here.
So here we go. Yeah.
Okay, how do I use this?
Right will advance your slides.
So that way? Okay.
Left.
I know left and right. That's not helpful at all.
Try it, make sure. Yeah.
Okay, this is actually a really trimmed down version of the PowerPoint. At DroneU, we've had two-hour-long webinars on this with over 40,000 people watching. So I got to do this in like 10 minutes. So remote ID, for those of you who don't know, basically, there it goes. It's a proposed rule that will make all unmanned aviation have an identification process that is viewable from the ground. So whether it's going to be from the drone and or from the ground station, which is your controller or iPad, or if you're actually using a physical ground station, some instances, you're going to have a number of different things that are being transmitted via internet and broadcast via your drone. So those are going to be called session elements, which we'll get to in a minute. Just real quick, we're going to cover these. Again, this is a 3 or 4 hour thing, so I'm going to hit the highlights, and we're going to have an in-depth webinar, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're trying to figure? Okay, and they'll push that out. We have until March 2nd to get our comments in. As of this morning, there are 7,935 public comments on the NPRM, and it's been out since December 31st. To put that in perspective, the last major NPRM the FAA put out was the one in February about flights over people and flights at night becoming part of the standard 107 operation. So there's no more waivers with that. That was an incredibly important one as well. That had 949 comments total. So this web page has had to date 183,262 page views. So we're pushing 200,000 people just looking at it. I know a lot of people are trying to get all this, their head around this, and so it's going to be. And by the way, Gina, I'm not talking as a FAST team member here, just so you know. I'm talking as a remote pilot. I'm also a FAST team member, like Taylor is. So I wear different hats. I'm also on the FAA task group, and I just got back from Anaheim for the UAST and then safety team meeting Thursday. So I do a lot of this stuff, and it's a lot of fun. But so we got to do this. We got to talk about it. We got to get your head around it. I think I've got a link at the end of this, but I'll give it to you anyway. Where we've got a comment guide. Also at DroneU, so thedroneu.com, we have in our blog, we have 5 articles right now that kind of dive deeper into this. So if you want to get more information, which I strongly suggest you do, whether you're a remote pilot, manned aviator, STEM teacher, anybody who has anything to do with aviation or uses drones in their business needs to get out here and do this. The main aspect of it is you're going to have 3 categories: standard, limited, and UAS without remote ID. Our ID stands for remote ID. So I'm just abbreviating here. So those are the 3 categories. All drones will be flown under these 3 categories if this goes through as passed. Standard is going to be the vast majority of 107 flights fall under standard category. You must broadcast and transmit via the internet the message elements, which we'll get into in just a minute. If internet isn't readily available, then you can go ahead and just broadcast from your drone or your ground station. But if that broadcast is lost, so if you're not broadcasting or transmitting your message elements, which are all the information you're supposed to push out, then you have to land as soon as possible, as soon as practical, I think is what it's called. You do not define as soon as practical, so that could mean coming back, that could mean landing in one of your emergency designated areas, or that could mean finishing your mission if you're on a BVLOS mission. Well, at takeoff, you must apply, your drone must have an ANSI, which is an American, no. It's the standards people. Whatever it's called. It's Standards International is what it is. an ANSI qualified serial number. There's not a drone right now out there that uses ANSI serial numbers. So that's one issue right there. It must have functional, hi there.
Sorry.
It must have functional remote ID equipment upon takeoff, which means you can't take off without it under these categories, and you may not disable it, which is the same thing. I'm not quite sure why they put both of them in there. So it must be functional from takeoff to landing, as mentioned. And then you can't disable it. One of the things is your drone may not be, if you're going to fly under that went too far.
I did it. Sorry, it's my fault.
That's okay. Well, this is limited, so we'll just jump right into what's next thing. Limited is if you can't transmit via the, no, you can't broadcast. So broadcast is from the drone, it kind of goes everywhere, and then transmit is through the internet, and it goes to the internet. So that's the big difference there. If you can't broadcast, you must transmit via the internet. You're going to be limited to line of sight and 400 feet. So if you are not able to broadcast your drone, then you can only fly 400 feet from your control station. So that's a problem. The way they come up with that number is they kind of got together with cops and decided, hey, 400 feet is about as far as we can see a drone. So they see a drone, if they know it's going to be 400 feet of the person, they can find the person. That's the point of that. Again, if you lose transmission, you must land as soon as practical. Same thing here with what it contains. Some recreational flights will fall under this. Okay, not all, but some recreational flights will fall under this. The next one, you killed me.
I'm killing you, man. Try again.
Man. It should say remote without.
Try again.
Hey, far out. Now this is basically the hobby flights. Okay, and what you're going to be stuck at is what's called a FRIA, which is an FAA recognized identification area. That's a really long, drawn-out word for AMA field, basically. Are you all AMA up here, Taylor?
No.
Okay, you're going to be shut down if this goes through as written. The final rule contains this. You guys will be shut down. I promise. So
Unless
most
they
will fall under
apply.
this. Say what?
Unless they apply.
By you a 501c3.
We are, but the RC, we aren't with the RC field.
Okay.
So the people who
But are they
fly
AMA?
there are AMA
Yeah.
members, but it's not an AMA
Okay, then that's
designated.
problematic.
So they can apply,
Not unless they become part of AMA, because it has to be a CBO.
which they
Recognized.
probably will.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I think one of the issues with this, as I recall, is they got 12 months,
Mhm.
and then after that, they're not going to accept any more.
We'll get into that.
Good. Here you go.
Okay, message elements. This is what is going to have to be broadcast and transmitted. If you're going to fly under regular or a standard is broadcast and transmit, limited is transmit, and then non-whatever RID is none of this stuff. So you're going to have social security number. I say that every single time. Serial number provided by the manufacturer. So we can't even take the drones we have now that do not have that ANSI certified serial numbers. It's in the back to DJI or Unique or whoever built them for us. I guess we could technically do that, but DJI is not going to be serial number every single drone that they've sold. Neither will Unique, neither will whoever else built them. So that'll have to be. I'm not getting into session ID. You can look into that if you want. We do have an article blog. Longitude and latitude of the control station, which if you've got a drone that tells you, that talks to telemetry to you, you've got that already. So that's no big deal. Barometric pressure altitude of the control station. Not a GPS altitude, but the actual barometric pressure altitude. There is not a single controller out there, with the exception of a few of the large ground control stations that the big boys use. Those might have a barometrically verified AGL or MSL. So they're going to have, well, I guess that'd be AGL, not MSL, sorry. Because it'll convert. But so that would be an issue with using our drones we've got now. So there's, like I said, there's not a single drone in the air right now that will qualify if this goes as written. And then AGL, this is oh, I'm going to jump back one. Sorry, longitude and latitude control station. This is a huge issue. This is actually my primary issue with the entire thing. That means, since this is going to be publicly available knowledge, so anybody with a cell phone with an app, anybody with internet access, because it'll go through the USS, which is going to be the provider, your transmission provider, they will know where you're flying from at all times. in real time. So if you're flying and somebody sees a drone and hates drones or just is a little imbalanced or had a fight with their spouse or whatever, and wants to take it out on somebody, all they gotta do, they see a drone, they pull up with it, and they can find us. It's that simple, and it's that easy. My BO and I wear orange vests anyway, so I don't mind people finding me, but that's people who see me. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry who has mental issues knowing where I fly. The other issue is going to be if the thief, because it's not going to take long once this gets out there for thieves and people like that to understand that, hey, if we see a drone, we can find out where it's flying from and go rob them when they land. So we got a lot of money flying around. And then the other issue is First Amendment issues. So if you're using it for news gathering, if you're using it for different things like that, that one thing right now, longitude and latitude control station, available publicly, it's a non-starter in the UAS world. It cannot happen. And if that does happen, compliance will be zero. I'm not telling people I won't comply, but I will seriously consider whether or not to comply in a situation like that for safety reasons. The other stuff is fairly normal, AGL of the drone. And longitude and latitude. You have to have a timestamp. So if you're in this area, it has to be what time you're in this area. That's what all those words there mean. And then emergency status, which means is it good? Is it returned to home? Is it crashed? All that information has to be broadcast locally. And again, we're going to go through this real fast. Remote ID, okay. And again, all of these would require flights outside of Korea. So if you don't have all this stuff being broadcast or transmitted, you're stuck to an AMA field, and you're stuck to the boundaries of the AMA field. So if you're flying if you're flying a soaring wing or something, you're not going to have a whole lot of fun that day, because the AMA fields are not that big. So that's what we're talking about here real quick. The FRIAs, only an FAA recognized CBO can apply. Right now, there are no FAA recognized CBOs that is working on. That's straight from Section 349 of the 2018 FAA Reauthorization Act. It is going to be AMA. They're working on that, and it's probably going to be the Drone Users Group Network. So AMA and DUG are probably going to be FAA recognized CBOs, and they have to be FAA recognized. None of that exists right now. They also have to apply within 12 months of the effective date, which is probably 2.5 years out. Oh no. 2.5 years out is going to be the manufacturer's compliance deadline. So once this goes out, and I'm going to guess 6 months if they fast track it. Might be 12 months, but FAA was very, very slow, as Gina can attest to. But so once those rules are set, AMA or whoever else has 12 months to apply for FRIA recognition. There are 3,500 AMA fields around the country, I think. So that means just AMA alone, they're going to have 3,500 applications to process in 12 months. Not going to happen. After 12 months, you'll accept no more applications. So that means if you form a new AMA club or form a new CBO, you can't have a flying field. So that's problematic. And you must reapply every 48 months. So it's not a open-ended flying field. And you better have a good secretary, because you have to apply for a renewal within 120 days of your expiration date. So if you wait for 119 days, you've got 119 days left to fly at that field before it gets closed. All existing CBO parks have to apply. There's not going to be anybody grandfathered in. And if this happens as written, which is going to be a huge issue for the hobby industry, is how many of us fly like at the park or in our backyard or out in the wilderness? Well, not the wilderness, that's illegal. National forest. That means you cannot do that unless you're flying under limited, or you can't fly under limited. You have to be flying under the standard. So you can't go out and fly, like I can't go out and fly my P2 for one thing. I still have one of those. Or my Baby Hawks or any of that kind of stuff. Anywhere, because none of that stuff transmits like that. And let's see real quick, major issues, and this is what I want you guys to go and write about. If you do your research, again, I don't have time to do this. Safety is a big thing. Pilot in charge location will be known, that will be publicly available. It says so right in the wording. It's a 318-page document. So, so that's going to be a huge issue. Safety issue right then and there. That's a non-starter. Cost. If you have to broadcast or if you have to do Wi-Fi, what's it going to cost for your data plan? And in my data plan, I figured out it's going to be an extra $60 a month. Plus, you're going to have to pay for the USS, which is the person you're going to send your information to, who's then going to compile the information and make it available to the FDA and the DHS, the FBI, Secret Service, and all those guys. It's going to be real-time information. They say $2.50 a month is what they think it's going to cost for USS. They are way off the mark, probably by a factor of 10, because they have to develop the system first. None of this technology exists yet, so they got to develop technology. So what's it going to cost for the equipment? Odds are not terribly much, because everything's going to be built into it, and it's not the cost of the broadcast and that kind of information is not going to be that much. So that's not going to be horrible. Again, the control station barometer, none of our control stations have barometrically verified AGL. None of them. Promise you. Legality, since they will know where we're flying from, that is a real questionable aspect. If you want to look that law up, it's actually the Foreign National Wiretap Act. But part of that act also says if you want to wiretap an American citizen, you have to have a warrant. This is technically wiretapping because they're gathering information about our location. It can be argued that we're opting into that so that we don't need a warrant, but still there's questions for that. Plus, there are some questions about if you're a minor and all the information is publicly available, that gets into that's not even gray, that's black and white, you can't do that. So there's issues with that. Again, I mentioned it closes parks. It also, this is a major issue, is how many people you know that work in the aviation industry started out at AMA or flying models or that kind of thing. This is really going to choke that funnel. I mean, there's already a pilot shortage in the industry. So this is really going to hurt this. Compliance is going to be an issue. Remote ID has to work. I want everybody to understand. Everybody and every pilot I've spoken to, remote pilot and hobbyist I've spoken to, not every hobbyist, there's some strange guys out there, and they are guys for the most part, are support remote ID. It has to happen. I'm a huge proponent of remote ID. I was so disappointed when I first read this NPRM in December because it just killed us. Remote ID has to happen so we can open up the skies. What's his name from Centennial can pipe in on this too with you once. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, Jack. Mike or Jack? Mike. Okay, I'm horrible with names. Sorry, Mike. This will open up the skies to us because let's say you all have seen my flight over the Bronco Stadium. So if I was allowed to fly, blah, 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 it was a perfectly legal flight, but let's say I'm flying during a regular game instead of a preseason game, and I've got permissions and I can do all that stuff, and so the Bronco Stadium has aerospace, and so they know who's flying. So let's say I fly, they see that, oh, it's Vic, don't worry about it, he's okay, but then they see somebody else flying or somebody else flying her. Then they gotta go find out who that is. So the resources can be sent to where the problems are and not sent to me. Same thing happened BVLOS, so beyond visual line of sight, all those extended missions that we're gonna be doing or are doing, beyond line of sight will help, and then remote ID will then also help with that. Because that way people can see, okay, there's that, but you know, he's a mile and a half away, but we still know who owns that drone. So that's gonna be good. The FAA says in the NPRM that 93% of all drones right now and 80% of commercial drones will be upgradable. That's in the preamble. That's before the Department of Homeland Security got a hold of this and chopped it up into 100,000 pieces and then rewrote it. You can tell if you read it that its parts don't agree with each other. 0% of the drones we have currently in the sky now will be able to fly outside of a FRIA if this goes through as written. Not a single one of them, because they're not going to grandfather and they don't even discuss the ability to upgrade. Because if you can upgrade, you can downgrade, and part of the issue is that you cannot have a drone that is basically, you can't hack it. Yeah, you cannot hack it. So that is our idea in a nutshell. Again, how to comment. The line, you know, the website is this long. You know, it's a typical government website with the name and then a bunch of alphanumeric random generated thingies. Do not copy and paste. AMA sent out some stuff. Copy and paste, and don't do that. The FAA will not count that as they'll count the number, but they won't count the comment. And we talked to the AMA about that. Actually ran into an AMA General Counsel Thursday. We talked about that. They changed they changed how they're going to do things from now on. They're telling their members just to write something based on what they suggest, not copy and paste. So thank you, AMA, for that. Be concise. You have 500 characters. I'm sorry, 5,000 characters. My comment I submitted last week was 5,000 characters long. I went in there and I had to get rid of some spaces and stuff like that to make it fit, but it fit. You can also write a, you can submit a PDF or a doc, different things like that. I've seen some people submit memes. Don't do that. I'll be writing a much longer comment for UAS Colorado. So we'll have, and that we'll have to attach as a PDF. Don't rant. If you want to have a laugh, go through and read some of the comments. Again, just Google RID FAA NPRM. Remote ID FAA NPRM. Notice the proposed rulemaking. That'll bring you up the list of where that'll bring you up the websites. Offer suggestions. Don't complain about it. Or don't only complain about it. Do complain about it. Don't only complain about it. Offer suggestions. Again, tell them you support RID in general, because RID is critical to us moving forward in this industry. Use facts to back up your comments. Use page numbers if you're referencing something. The unpublished one is 318 pages long. The published one is 94 pages long. So use the page numbers off the published NPRM. That like those page numbers start from like 72,000 and something, because it's just part of a big, huge published book that goes out online. It's not really a book or whatever. Use your real name. You have the option to do this anonymously. Don't. It's like if you're getting comments from somebody that you run a business, you get a comment, you're going to ignore the people who are anonymous. I mean, yeah, the comments will count, but they'll count a lot more if you put your name on it. No one's going to hold it against you. You're not going to end up on somebody's list. Lord knows I'd be on that list now if it was. I'm not. I promise you that. Write out your comment beforehand. It's just easier. You can write it, read it, rewrite it, read it. If you're like me, you write the first time and it sounds terrible. You don't just vomit all your stuff on the page. And don't panic. We got until March 2nd. Don't wait till March 1st. Who knows what's going to happen to the the server if everybody waits and dumps 10,000 comments on there. We're getting about 150 a day right now.
You have all these details about how to comment.
Mm-hmm.
Do they really read it?
They are. Every government agency that puts out an NPRM is required by law to read every single comment. And what they do is they bring in aggregators, they'll read the comment, and they kind of put them in piles. Obviously, they're not printed out, but they put them in piles. I don't know exactly how it works. Like, okay, this person's against it, and he's an idiot, she's an idiot, she just complains about stuff. Okay, here's this file. That pile's going to be the biggest pile if you read through this. Okay, this is AMA, that's going to be the second biggest pile. And that's all going to be kind of one vote. But then you're going to have people like myself, and I'm sure Taylor, if you haven't already, are going to comment and make suggestions, and so that will be in a different pile. Okay, remote pilot security is a huge issue, and that's what I'm hammering that home with everybody. That's going to be a pretty big file too, I think. There's a lot of people who are worried about that. So yes, they will read that 100%.
When they post the final rule in the Federal Register, they actually discuss comments that were submitted and some of the logic behind. Mostly it's the FAA disagrees with this, and so we're going on. Yeah.
And then the only other comment is, as you read through this, if you're really bored and read all 318 pages, there are some questions they specifically ask. So if you feel like we're glomming onto one of those questions and answering that form, that works too. You're allowed to comment more than once if you just want to write different comments, or again, you're allowed to attach a PDF or something like that. And I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Questions? Okay, that's nothing.
Just
the other thing, the other website, y'all can, and actually I thought it was on there, is droneadvocacykit.com. That's actually a DroneU website, but if you go to the bottom of it, it's just a real short website. It's a download site. You put in your email address. We have a comment guide that we put together with the FPV Freedom Coalition. So it's not just a DroneU thing, and we're not using that to gather emails for DroneU. That is basically all. That whole list is nothing but what, if we want to do something else with the NPRM, or we're going to suggest talking to your legislative people, then that's what that list will be for. We promise we're not going to sell it. We're not going to do anything like that. Rotor Riot won't even use our stuff because we're asking for email addresses, even though we tell them we don't want to do it. So that's it.
I believe that I posted that link on our Facebook page, and I may have included it in an email as well, but we'll get these all together. I do want to move on real quick, but who in this room, if we put together a Zoom meeting would attend something about the NPRM and go into further detail.
I'll go into much deeper detail about this particular.
Good. I'm going to try and get Greg White, who was part of the committee as well, and to get these two together a little bit kind of like they did with UAS Colorado, but specifically for us and the public, because like our first responders, search and rescue, this has an impact on everybody. So they need to know about it. The next thing I want to, yeah.
I'm sorry. I know it may not survive, but is the under 250 gram thing still part of this?
No, if you're under 250 grams as a hobbyist, you have to register. This is for registered drones.
So the mini Mavic, say, can still go everywhere?
As long as you're flying hobby. Yeah. If you're flying anything outside of hobby. I also, though, now I'm gonna wear my FAA safety team hat. So I strongly suggest everybody register all their drones. The Mavic Mini specifically, because when a lead agent or a cop shows up, all he's got to say if drone's supposed to be registered, they're not going to get into the minutia of it's under 250 grams, and it's $5. So I just suggest everybody goes a Mini register just to make their lives easy if the cop shows up. That's my caveat there.
Thank you.